Once upon a time, in a bygone era, a hunter from the wilderness had captured a deer. When he returned home one night, he found nothing to eat in his house. No matter how much he contemplated killing and grilling the deer, he wasn't satisfied with the idea. Carrying the deer on his shoulder, he walked down the street where a few people were gathered. The hunter proclaimed, "I'm selling this deer." They asked, "How much?" He replied, "It's worth 50 coins, but since I'm in need, I'll let it go for 10. As the crowd assessed the situation, one person said, "I'll buy it for 2 coins, another said, 3 coins, someone else offered 4 coins, and a wealthy wagon driver, intrigued by the deer, declared, "I'll give 5 coins. No one pays more than this for a midnight deer. After all, how much meat does a lean, dry deer have?" The hunter retorted, "They don't buy a deer for its meat. A deer is a deer, not a sheep." The wagon driver replied, "You know best. In any case, 5 coins is our final offer." He bought the deer, took it home, and released it into the stable among the horses. The deer entered and witnessed a horrifying sight. Several horses were there, a few troughs filled with straw, a pond full of filth, the smell of dampness, manure, and the stifling air, with the stable door closed tight. Still contemplating his next move, the horses noticed him. They exchanged glances and smirked. One of the horses asked, "Who are you?" The deer replied, "I am also one of God's creatures, my name is Deer. I used to live in the wilderness. Someone caught me and brought me to your master, who brought me here." The horses responded, "Very well, whatever you are, feel free here. This is a good place. Look, there's a pond full of water, troughs filled with straw, and until morning, no one bothers with this place. You're our guest. Eat whatever you want and rest wherever you please. Just be careful not to step on our hooves." The deer said, "Thank you. Now that I'm here, but I can't eat this straw and drink this water. Carry on with your business, and I'll stay in this corner." The horses continued eating, moving from one trough to another, tossing each other around, running in the stable, and the deer, frightened, darted from one corner to another, avoiding their hooves. Overwhelmed by fear, discomfort, the dusty air, and the smell of manure, it struggled to breathe. Occasionally, the horses glanced at him, exchanged looks, smiled, and whispered to each other, "There's the deer, what a peculiar creature. Look at its legs, like thin water pipes. See its antlers, its eyes. It has nothing like us, doesn't eat anything, doesn't speak, and scurries from one corner to another, afraid of us. In its imagination, we're giants." And they all laughed together. One of the more noble horses spoke up, saying, "Come on, everyone, he's not one of us, and he's a stranger here. Since he's a young one, he might be scared of us. We shouldn't upset him. Regardless, he's our guest. We need to stay calm and not do anything to make him more frightened." Everyone agreed, and they calmed down. Then, a kind donkey addressed the deer, "Come, dear, come over here and have your meal in my stable. See how good this straw is. It's yellow like saffron, coarse like tree leaves, soft like tender alfalfa, sweet like watermelon rind. Don't worry, no one cares about you here. Come, have your dinner." The deer replied, "Thank you for your kindness, but I don't eat straw. I'm not a child. Though I may look delicate orange, my stature is small. Nevertheless, I am fully grown and mature. If I weren't a deer, you might consider me an old man." All the donkeys laughed together. Then, one of the horses said, "All right, you're not a child, you're an old man. Come here and have some oats in my stable." And all the horses laughed. The deer said, "I don't want anything. Oats and straw are good for you as you're accustomed to them. My teeth don't chew on such things. Leave me be." One of the horses said, "Oh, I see, the old man has no teeth. Poor old man. Well, since you don't eat, let it be. Forget about the old man, let him starve." The deer replied, "I only want one thing. Leave me to my own devices, and don't burn my heart." The deer was very sad, not knowing what to do. His eyes were filled with tears, and he thought to himself, "I wish the hunter had thrown me into a well rather than sending me to this stable. Any fate would be better than living with these incomprehensible creatures." The most noble of the horses, witnessing the tears of the deer, felt compassion and approached the deer, saying, "Dear one, never cry. Tears never heal any pain. Sorrow and despair bring no benefit. They've always said, smile at the world, and the world will smile back at you. You see us laughing and not crying. We, too, have blood in our hearts like you. But what can we do? Now that it has turned out this way and you've fallen into this stable, just be like everyone else. Speak and listen, smile, and don't worry too much. If you say this stable is bad, well, it might be. But just as we've adapted, you should too. We are much happier being in a garden and grazing on green grass. But when it's not there, it's not there. Believe me, straw is delicious too. If you eat oats and straw like us, you'll grow big and become a respectable animal. But if you want green grass, I'll separate it from the hay for you. One of the kinder horses, feeling empathy for the deer, said, it's okay, it's okay. Now that we've given him a hard time, let's see what big words he has. Here he is, suffocating, green fields and deer. He's not a horse. Poor old man, let him be, and let him die of hunger. The deer said, I just want this. Let me be myself, and don't torment me. The deer was very sad and didn't know what to do. His eyes were filled with tears, and he thought to himself, I wish the hunter had thrown me into a well rather than sending me to this stable. Any fate would be better than living with these incomprehensible creatures. The deer, seeing that they didn't understand his words, had a lump in his throat and couldn't respond. At that moment, one of the horses shouted from the corner of the stable, Hey, I found a single blade of green grass, everyone. Whoever finds green grass should put it aside for the deer. You, who seek reward, give him your greens. The deer's crying has broken my heart, don't let this poor creature cry. God does not approve of it. The deer replied, There's no need for your sympathy is both foolish and donkey-like. I'm not a beggar for charity in the name of God. You're the beggars. You can't recognize me because I'm a deer, and you're asses. The horses turned away, saying, What else? What a foolish creature you are. We're trying to be kind to you, and you're calling us fools? One of the horses said, The devil is telling me to go kick him in the head. Another one said, He wants green grass and doesn't accept our hay. Another one said, Now he's getting what he deserves. He came forward, and someone kicked the deer in the leg. Another one grabbed his arm, and the deer, terrified and in pain, fell unconscious. The noble donkey said, You did a terrible thing. It wasn't his fault. In the world, there are 1,000 types of animals, and this was just one of them. Many creatures have different lives and ways of thinking than us. It's not necessary for everyone to be like us and think like us. We eat straw and oats, the deer doesn't. There's no sin in that, and there's no need to beat and tie him up. You did very wrong to hit him. The horses said, It's all your fault for pulling him out in the first place and making him cry. Otherwise, hunger would have forced him to eat this straw and say nothing. Morning had arrived. The charioteer came to take the horses to work. He saw the deer lying in the corner, breathing heavily. He picked up the deer and took him to the hunter's house, saying, Look, brother, I had no place for this deer except the stable, and it seems the horses and the deer don't mix. They beat him, and my heart aches for him. Come up with some solution for him, and whenever you have the money, bring me 5 tamans back. The hunter took back the deer, watched over him for a few days until he recovered. Then, he sold him for 50 tamans at the zoo and returned the charioteer's money. They put the deer in the deer enclosure, and as he was very happy and smiling, the other deer scolded him, saying, What a carefree deer you are. It's good that you can be so happy in this prison. Where did you come from? The deer replied, I came from hell. I'm happy here because no matter what, we all understand each other's language. I've seen worse than this, and here, compared to the charioteer's stable, is paradise. Living with the unkind and ignorant is worse than hell.